We're ready.
In America, we get a very specific sort of outlook on what Indian culture is.
Concepts of beauty are very much part of cultural identity.
What is the tradition of experimentation in Indian art and music?
And my music is not to be enjoyed. And my music is about structures and sounds, and I don't care if anybody enjoys it or appreciates it. This is sort of a pure architectural exploration, and my music is not to be enjoyed. It's about the audience becoming sort of witnessing the exploration process of the experimental musician, and perhaps appreciating the focus or the intensity or the other things that are going on, but it's not necessarily for the enjoyment of the audience in a way. At the beginning, I can select between a number of ragas that I've taught. It flashes red every time I play a note. It's analyzing my note attack times and the pitches. As I lean forward, this other tone comes in, and then my thumb determines the range of the bend, and then I bend. I have the luxury of exploring experimentation outside of the constraints of economic problems and support, being supported by institutions where they pay me to come to India and buy me gear. This is something that we have to figure out, this disparity, and how we can better support the conference from afar or make different sorts of alliances that can allow this conversation to continue.
Being an Indian, I think it's a great opportunity for me to start learning about modes of expression and thoughts from other lands, and I think I come here for that opportunity, that I do get the opportunity to learn more about various other kinds of expressions.
So these things are infiltrating the culture in various ways.
Where should something like this go? What is the right way forward for things like this in a modern age?
We're going to get various things changing all the time. Changing all the time. Changing all the time. Whenever I put into it, we're going to get various things that will be changing all the time. Whenever I put into it, we're going to get various things that will be changing all the time.
We're really talking about the future, which I hope we are. This is something we need to think about.
We don't feel that way, but in global context, we're very well supported by the government. in terms of art practice and within the university system. It has to have more than the money to survive. It needs to have not just a will, but a kind of interest and an engagement and a sense of community, which hopefully this group will make happen. One key for me is openness, and it's interesting that so many people who do new media work, who do work with computers, who have done as we suggest, turn writing code into an art practice, come from that experimental tradition and come from a tradition of improvisation, of looking at process, of being in the moment. Look to the antecedents of what we're doing now, there are many traditions that go back many years that are immersive multimedia environments, just different technologies, and so we're not inventing new stuff.
You want to come earlier? Or is this fine?
Another aspect of what I do, as you all know, is that I try to draw interstices and connections between all the various possible creative practices that are based on technology and therefore a shared platform. I made my MIDI controller. I visualized it as a guitar strap. I do see these things coming out as byproducts of the continuous networking that we do.
The reason why so much technology is so ugly is that people like me develop it. We look at things being functional, but we have no artistic training. We also aren't in any way trained to look at things artistically. I would be very interested to get some sort of a feeling and understanding for how one might bring aesthetics into and making it into an integral part of engineering education.
What happens when we speak to each other in this way, rather than speak to each other in this way? I want to ask questions about what happens about not only the way that I speak, but the way that I'm heard. I would love to be able to interact with a computer that was emotional. Then there might be a conversation. And I'm convinced that singing is really the most sophisticated technology that we have access to. We would be developing different kinds of technologies if we were more in touch with our hearts. This is a picture of their heart rate variabilities. I was using an ECG machine that was doctored in the most unconventional way. The lust for technology, which pervades our society currently, and of which I think this gathering is a kind of indication.
কোনো অসুবিধা যদি থাকে তাহলে বলো। বল।
We need to change. We need to change, and that's clear. Already, it's paid itself for all the effort it took us to get here. Don't you do your experiments in the studio and then show us the finished work? Experimental music means engaging in a process the outcome of which is unknown. It means that something new happens. That's why experimental practices are so incredibly important. The people who were closest to the machine really felt that they had the power, and in many senses they did. Embedded in that idea of technology, there's a place for the designer, there's a place for the philosopher, there's a place for the artist. Those are equally important roles.
They don't have the same resources that you have in Europe. So they develop other ways. How to use the autonomy of art in different kind of situation, and what we can do with art that other medium can't do. We follow two sides of the wall, two camera. So now you see on the wall the other side, and people start to communicate through the video projectors. We didn't put any loudspeakers or microphones, so people start to use the mobile phone and call to the people that we recognize on the other side. And the border police was always there, but it was too strange for them. Yes, I'm getting money from the government.
אתה כרגע אני לא יודע אם מותר לצלם פה או לא מותר לצלם פה, תמתין. אתה לא מבין עברית, אתה לא מבין עברית.
I think when we say the word new, we're talking about something that is old already. I find it a bit strange idea to look for the new.
Technology can be amazingly liberating.
Without rasa, a work of art is not a work of art.
All of us are immigrants to the digital technologies that exist today. None of us are natives.
This is another follow-up on Hurricane Katrina. More of the detail of the work. I'll get down to the piece that I want to show you. These are as a result of working with molecular scientists.
When we say we're artists, And they say, well, you're actually technologists, you're computer people, aren't you? And it's, no, actually, I'm not. And then the computer person will say to me, you're not really a computer person, are you? And I'll say, well, no, I'm not, I'm an artist.
I can't quite imagine going to a painting exhibition and saying, what kind of paint do you use? It's a real kind of conundrum in this stuff that we all do, that we are so fascinated with, like, the technology of it all, you know?
But this isn't an exhibition, this is an insider's conversation. We want to know what the
Right.
tricks are.
We were convincing them that this was about research, teaching, and community service.
I photograph light and shadow, and then I disembed the light and the shadow, and then I use those as objects.
How do we get connected to our institutions in ways that they understand us?
Because I know I get real techno-lust. And this piece was produced in conjunction with a sound artist.
The natives are coming.
This is what we want to change to.
The corollary is you must.
I believe that everything changes except the speed of light, and hopefully even that might start changing. I still do not know if I really am an artist.
The path that he's taken to get here and the path that I've taken to get into digital fine art has not been straight.
We're using some of the simpler technologies.
You know, as a traditionally trained artist, you learn to use tools, and those tools change over the years, you know.
It's that interpersonal communication that I think is really important and that what makes this so special.
Thinking outside of the parameters of the norm.
This is an installation of this at Ars Electronica. There's the user and 3 screens that are they're in stereo, so there's these 6 projectors up here. And so we still are about 50% music, 50% visual arts, and 50% other things. So we're more than the sum of our parts. On the side are procedural animations or machinima of the same environment at different stages. We had this big summit in the spring, and on our big 4K cinema, we had the President of India.
What is the purpose of what it is that we're all involved in doing?
Music has always been kind of my teacher of how I kind of think about what computing can do to artistic practice.
How do we make things like this happen? How do we make them flourish? How do we make them richer? How do we make them more effective?
Sit with me just for today.
Trying to understand the linkages between art, craft and industry.
I pulled the trigger on the gun I didn't even know I had.
When I came in the morning, I saw some familiar crackpots. So I felt a bit reassured. New media, but old new media. It's something which everybody has an opinion on, but nobody seems to know anything about.
Quality control, that's what we're about.
I hadn't thought about that.
That totally shifted my practice. Like this is one gesture or another gesture. For me, the involvement with computing technology allowed that more performative approach. If I press key, she opens her eyes, closes, then turns your head or gets this. Computers are so new and so shallow.
We can make things impossible to possible. I want to give something to my own country, to my own people.
We have made few other short animated films, social messages, and that also I'm going to showcase. One of that is on anti-smoking.
Why can't we do?
It's been a very stimulating morning.
Our funds are limited, so the rest is up to you. Tell all your friends. Word of mouth is so important.